Good morning from the Everglades. If you saw my last video, you know that I talked about what to look for when purchasing your first DSLR or mirrorless camera. So for this video, let's assume that you did purchase that camera. You have this wonderful new camera and you want to get out and start using it. That's the primary goal here, is for you to just get out there and shoot. So I'm going to give you a very simple strategy on how to use this new camera without getting too bogged down with all the minutia. There's plenty of time for that. You're going to learn how to set the exposure. You're going to learn how to use your autofocus and all the other things that come with this camera. But for now, my goal here is to give you a strategy that will, number one, allow you to get out there and start shooting right away, and number two, dealing with all the images that you have in your camera after you go out and use it. I'm going to give you a couple of things to do that involves getting into the menu of your camera. But before we do that, let's make sure that you have a battery. So you should have gotten a battery with your camera, and that battery should be charged. If it's not charged, you need to do that. You also have a memory card, and that memory card, and some cameras have two slots, is in a slot. Here's the memory card, and that should be in there and ready to go as well. You probably also noticed when you got your camera that it came with some information about software, and that's the brand is offering you some free software to download. You can put that on your computer, or you can also get an app oftentimes for your phone. So you'll have that Nikon software or Sony or Canon software ready to go. What I want you to do first is I want you to go to this command dial that's up at the top here, and you'll notice that the command dial has a lot of options there. I'd like you to set it to auto. That's automatic. That is allowing the camera to take total control of the exposure and the focusing. Now, that seems counterintuitive, especially if you've watched any of my videos. I'm all about taking full control of the camera, but you're not there yet. I want you to put it on auto so that you can take this camera out and experiment with it and have fun with it. You're going to have lots of options because your lens is likely to be a zoom lens, which means you have a lot of options of zooming in and out for various compositions. I don't want you to have to be worried about focusing and exposure and all of that. Let the camera do that for you now. You have it on automatic, you're ready to go out and shoot, but wait, there's one more thing I need you to do. So this is really important because you're going to go out and you're going to take all these photographs and they're going to be stored on your memory card. What are you going to do with those after you shoot? Where are they going to go after that? So I'd like you to go into your camera's main menu. What I need you to find in there, and there's a long list of stuff that you may have to scroll through to find it, I want you to find what might be called image quality or image size. So somewhere in there you should see file format and the options that are given to you for formatting the files. Your camera gives you options on how to store those. It has usually two different formats. One is called JPEG and one is called RAW. And the camera will oftentimes give you the option to shoot RAW or shoot JPEG or both. Now, if you shoot both, every time you take a shot, you're going to have two files stored in your memory card. RAW and JPEG are very, very different from each other. So very quickly, let's talk about the differences. RAW file is all the data that your camera collected in that shot. It is an uncompressed file. It is much larger than a JPEG file. In fact, if you look at how many JPEG files you can store on a memory card, it's about 2 to 3 times more than what you can store if it's all RAW files that are on the memory card. RAW files are just bigger files because they have more data in them. They're uncompressed. The other difference between the two has to do with quality. And if you're going to grow as a photographer, you are going to have to shoot raw files. And the reason for that is because when you take that file out of your camera, you're not done with it yet. You've got some editing to do. And if you're serious enough about your photography, the editing part of this is going to be very important. So it is equally important that the file that you edit is a raw format, because all the data are there. There's no loss. And if it's a JPEG you're working with, it's not going to look quite as good if you start messing around with it in an editing software program. Now, JPEG is a popular one because that's what you see in practically every social media. A JPEG file is processed inside this camera. The camera has already done stuff to it that you can't reverse. I mean, you can set your camera, if you're shooting JPEG, you can set your camera so that it shoots black and white. So if you have JPEG files in that black and white, you're not going to get the color back. So JPEG is a done deal. Can you edit JPEG? Yeah, you can still do some editing to it. But seriously, the raw files are where you're going to eventually have to go if you are going to grow as a photographer. So at this point, whether you decide to do the raw or not, you're going to have JPEG files on your camera every time you take a shot. There's other settings in there that allow you to decide how big the JPEG file or how detailed the JPEG file is going to be. I highly recommend you go with the highest quality. It's going to take up more memory space, but I don't think that that's going to be an issue. So get the best quality you can from that file. So now you have your file format done. The next thing I want you to do with these new cameras, they have a capability of connecting to your computer or your smartphone by way of the network. So in the menu, in the main menu, you should see a subheading for it might be called network. There should be an option for you to connect the images on your camera to possibly your smartphone. That's where that editing program that comes with your camera, so if it's Sony or Nikon or Canon that you've downloaded, if you downloaded the app, you should be able to, with Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, you should be able to take the images from this camera and download them to your smartphone. If you have raw files only on there and you want to send them to your smartphone, they will be converted to JPEG. That software program will convert to JPEG so that the smartphone can recognize them. Now, if that doesn't sound like anything you're able to do, or you're just not sure how to make that work, the other thing you can always do, and I call it the old-fashioned way, your camera should have come with a USB cable. That USB cable can be connected to your laptop or your computer. When you turn it on, the computer will recognize this as a external hard drive, and from there you can get the images that are from your camera. Along the same line, you can take the memory card out, and if you have a memory card reader, you can always put that into your computer as well. One way or the other, you are getting the files from your camera onto your computer. You're ready to go out and shoot, and you know what you're going to do with the images once you have them on your camera. You're good to go. But I want you to do one more thing. Actually, two more things. First of all, I would like you to go back into your menu, your main menu, and I want you to find a subcategory that is for the camera for shooting or drive. It might say shooting/drive. You should find a function in there that's called drive mode. Okay, I want you to look at the menu for the drive mode, and you have a lot of options there. The first two that you see should be single shot and continuous shot. The others, like a self-timer, and some of the others are for bracketing. That's a little more advanced. We'll talk about those another time. But for now, the only two that you need to really know is continuous and single. If you're going to go out and shoot, and you think that there are going to be moving subjects, and you want to capture the best part of that movement, like a bird taking off or something like that, you want to take a series of shots. You want to hold the shutter button down and allow the camera to continue taking shots. If you put the drive mode on continuous, it will do that for you. If you put it on single shot, you hit the shutter button, you'll get one shot. Then you got to hit the shutter button again for a second shot. If you have it on continuous, you can hold it down and it'll keep shooting as long as you're holding the shutter button down. That's continuous shooting. All right, the last thing I want you to do is I want you to think about, well, once you get all your images where you want them to be, you've uploaded them to your computer or your smartphone, you're good to go there. Well, what do you do with the images that are still on the memory card in your camera? Can you get rid of them easily enough? And the answer is yes. So I highly recommend you do this once you know you're done with these images. Go into the main menu and look for Setup. Under Setup, you're going to see a lot of options, a lot of functions there. Look for Format. This is not format like JPEG or RAW format, not like what we just talked about. This is formatting the memory card. So when you hit that Format button, it's going to give you it's going to say, are you sure you want to do that? You're going to erase everything from your memory card, yes or no? You're going to say yes, because you want to erase all of that. You want to wipe it clean so that that memory card is ready to go the next time you go out and photograph. As long as you know the images you have taken are safely stored and you're not going to lose those. Okay, you got your camera, you got your lens, full battery, full memory card, you're on JPEG, you're on automatic. Get out there and shoot and have fun.